Welcome to Season 2 of the Face to Face Ministries podcast. I am Melinda Wilson.
And I'm Kathy Little. Thank you so much for joining us as we introduce you to ministries and leaders from around the globe who have said yes to the Isaiah 61 mandate to heal the brokenhearted and set the captives free, helping people to step into who they were always meant to be.
And for more information about us, please visit our website, face2faceministries.org. That's all one word, no spaces, no numbers, and no caps. And please follow us on our social media platforms, face2faceministries.org on Facebook and on Instagram, face2facemin.
Welcome to today's episode. We are so happy you're here. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is episode 77 of the Face to Face Ministries podcast, and we're doing something a little different today. But we thought that this particular content we want to share with you today is super valuable, and Melinda's going to share with you a little bit about the context from where this was recorded. So, Mel?
Yeah, the reason it's a little different is it's not an interview per se, but we actually had a 5-day, and a lot of you actually were involved, a 5-day free heart healing journey. We called it. I know it's a bit of a long name, but it was really amazing. We had over 350 people register for it. It just shows the hunger that people have to either know more about heart healing or to go deeper in it themselves. And Margaret Webb kicked us off on day one with some phenomenal teaching of really
Fabulous.
What is heart healing. You know, a lot of people may have a misconception about it, or they have no idea what it is. You know, it was called inner healing. We've just been calling it heart healing. It's a little bit more, I guess, I don't know if I want to say up to date, but inner healing was, as some of you have heard, was penned by Francis McNutt, who was really a grandfather of inner healing. And so heart healing or inner healing, those names are interchangeable, but she gives just an amazing foundation for what it really is, and it might surprise you. And we thought it would be really amazing and beneficial for you to hear her talk about what it is. And it kicked off an incredible week of really rich teaching. And Kathy, are we going to do this again? For those
yes,
of them who missed it?
we are. I'm so glad you asked. Yeah, you know, one of the things that COVID has done, in a negative sense, it pulled us off the road from doing a bunch of trainings, and we had a full calendar early part of the year, and then it just got wiped clean. But it helped us to really shift our focus into providing some online resources and wanting to equip people using the internet, because honestly, we can reach a lot more people virtually than we can in person. Although we still love to travel, we're still available, and now things are starting to open up. We're available to come and do Emmanuel trainings. We've got a couple of those coming up October 17th in Vacaville, California, which is our home church. And then we're going to do an advanced training up in Oregon. And there's information about those on our website on the training tab. And if you guys are in those areas, we'd love to see you. But you know, the virtual thing, the Zoom thing, the internet has really expanded our reach. And so we've been really taking advantage of that and doing this online 5-day heart healing journey that we did. And then now we're doing a 6-week course with several people that came into that. It's a paid course, and we're running that now. And we actually have about a 4-month plan of online resources and trainings and activities and things that we're going to run in cycles. So starting in mid-January of 2021, we're going to redo that 5-day journey. And so if you missed it the first time, you can jump in the second. And we're going to just continue providing these resources because, you know, we like Melinda said, we have kind of hit a nerve because people are really hungry for this.
Yeah, and we're also offering small groups. And, you know, we've shared before that was the number one thing that people were desiring right now. So in addition to the rich content that people are getting on the 6-week course, we're doing small groups and getting to know each other within community. And we have people from all over, as far away as Africa, Canada, and then all over the United States.
United Kingdom.
And the United Kingdom. And so next time we do this, we'd love to have you along. We're also going to be launching a premium membership site where for a monthly fee, you get incredible resource, community, connection, coaching, mentoring, which we're so excited about. And we'll be sharing more details with you very soon about that.
And Margaret Webb is actually part of our team that is helping us facilitate that. So we're very excited to introduce her to you and whet your appetite, because she is going to be providing a lot of the training and content in that paid membership. But for now, there's actually a free Heart Healing Network for you to join. If you are interested, you can go to our website, and there's a button right there for the Heart Healing Network. It's really, it's a social media platform, but it has nothing to do with Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. It's its own thing, and we're really excited about that. We already have about 350 people that have joined us in that group and are journeying together, and then different groups of them are doing different things in the group. But you're welcome to join us. We'd love to have you pop in and be with other like-minded people who are going after heart healing and pursuing Jesus. So we're really excited to introduce you to Margaret, and hope you enjoy. This is day one of the Heart Healing 101 journey. So
let us know what you think too.
Absolutely.
I'm a wounded healer. I have been in the healing business for 50 years. And I've been through many, many eras of healing in my life. And I've learned a lot because the Lord has been gracious to me, and he's taught me many things. And it is my favorite thing is to pass along things that he has taught me. And give him honor for it as I do, because believe me, without him in my life, I don't know a whole lot, don't know much. So I wanted to start with a sermon verse that our pastor used like just on Sunday, which was so perfect. It's Romans 12, 9 and 10. And I think that this might be the New King James, because that's what he typically uses. But here's what it says. Don't just pretend to love others. Really love them. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. Don't just pretend that you love others. Well, I'm a person who didn't know how to do that. I grew up in the church. I grew up with many, many sermons. Thousands of sermons. But I grew up in what I call Just Do It church, the Nike church, Just Do It. Because I didn't know how to do this. I didn't know how to love people with genuine affection. I didn't know how to be loved. And I was pretending. It was all I had. I pretended for a really long time. But I'm not the only one. And we're going to talk about why this is harder than it sounds. Sounds like you should just be able to just do it if you're a believer. And for some of us, it isn't working. And my goal is to introduce a significant paradigm shift into our thinking about what healing is. So that's what my talk is. What did I call it? What does healing mean? You know, what does it mean? And I like to look at the foundation of things, at the paradigm that's under. I've been, as I said, since 1970, I've been involved in the psychological healing. And I've been through many paradigms, and some of them very, very wacky. But we were believing in them at the time. So to me, it's really important that we understand what we're focusing on and what our goal is. So I want to help you reframe your approach to your heart pain. Reframe your approach to your heart pain. And the reason I want to do that is that I think, consciously or unconsciously, for a long time, our paradigm has been to get rid of. That's been our drive, our desire. I can think of some ways that we were trying to get rid of pain back in the 60s and 70s and 80s that were very damaging to people, to me and to others. But that's been our paradigm. It's kind of a Western left brain paradigm that if we just focus on the right things and learn the right things and we find the right method, that we can get rid of what's bothering us. and we won't have to deal with it anymore. I'm a psychotherapist. People used to come into my office and say, I just want to get rid of this thing that happened to me in my childhood so I can move on. It's natural for us to think that. And when we're in pain, we just really want it to end. And so don't give up on me yet, because this is a very exciting paradigm shift. I would say, and this is something you can jot down, a healed heart is a heart that's free to love and be loved. Not a heart that doesn't have any pain in it, but a heart that's free to love and be loved. Especially as I've done Emmanuel prayer, which is my mode of ministry. As I've done Emmanuel prayer, I've realized that connected relationship is both the process of healing and it's the goal. Connected relationship, loving connected relationship is the process by which we're healed, and it's the goal. So as we lead Emmanuel sessions, we know that getting connected isn't just something that's on the way to something else. That is the goal. And we want to bring our connection to Jesus and to other people inside us where maybe it hasn't been before. It certainly wasn't for me. So what wounds a heart? What makes our hearts wounded? This is another paradigm shift. I was in the business a long time before I learned some of these things that brain science has taught us. And it truly, it just blew my mind. But what I think wounds us is that there's a barrier between me and the source of love. There is a barrier. God, of course, is the source of all love. And look at the fall. I mean, to me, the fall wasn't primarily about sin. It was about the brokenness of the relationship. And we've all kind of inherited that. We all have sort of an original heart wound that needs to be healed. Well, I walked the aisle when I was 8 because I didn't want to go to hell, but I didn't have a healed heart, and I didn't know how to love and be loved. I didn't have the capacity. And so I missed the core of what Christianity was. The core of it, it all has to do with love relationships. So what wounds us isn't necessarily the bad things that happen to us, even though they're bad. What leaves a lasting wound is when we're alone in it. Just think about that for a minute. If a child on the playground falls, like about a 5-year-old falls, scrapes their knee, maybe draws a little blood, they can usually shake it off, but they look around for mom. You've seen this. You've been the mom. Or the dad who, they run and they come to you, and when they get to you, what do? That's when they start to cry, right? They don't cry over there on the playground all by themselves. They come running to you, and when they get to you, then they cry. I've always enjoyed watching that. I mean, some kids cry before they get to mom, but I'm just saying you've seen this happen, and you've experienced it, especially with an older child. And the reason is that's the way God made us. He made our brains to process pain in a relationship. This has been the most fascinating part of the paradigm shift for me as a therapist, is literally the pain processing pathway in the brain does not allow material that's overwhelming to us to be processed if we're alone. That is what gets it stuck. And there's 5 levels of the brain, pain processing pathway, which we can teach about at length in other ways through the network. But just know this, that pain can only be processed in a relationship that's safe, a safe and loving relationship. Well, as a therapist, therapy wouldn't exist if it weren't for that truth. And I learned as a therapist, even through research, that the core element of a good therapeutic process is the therapeutic relationship. And yet in our Western thinking, we are always trying to come up with methods and techniques. And so, hence the phrase, think your way into a new way of feeling. Think your way into a new way of feeling. Or just change. Just choose to change. And that works for some things, but it doesn't work for deep heart wounds, does it? That's the just do it. So, have you noticed, so some of you have been on a healing journey for a long time. And, and I'm with you there. And some of you are kind of new to this whole concept. And we're, as Melinda said, we're so excited to have you join us because you're going to learn so much. And this will be a major turning point. This network, this group of people, these people. But have you ever noticed that even after you've had maybe a really good therapy session where you finally got in touch with your pain and you cried and you had somebody care about it, or you had just an amazing experience with Jesus and he walked into your memory with you, and it was just wonderful. He said he brought everything that is right and good. But have you ever experienced that sometimes that issue or those feelings can get triggered again? I have. And I've been working at this a long time. I think that there are things that the brain hangs on to, and that's another whole story about the brain. But I think there are also things that the Lord leaves with us, like Paul and the thorn. And we're going to talk about why. We're going to talk about why, because the reason that I want you to get this new concept is that it's very easy if you think you've been healed of something and it resurfaces in any way, shape, or form, to feel like a failure, to feel like something's gone wrong, and or it didn't work. It's either like we blame the method or we blame ourselves. But I have wounds, as long as I've been working with the Lord, I have wounds that can be re-triggered. I have a heart wound that can be triggered again. And if I'm setting my eyes on getting rid of, if that's my goal, if that's my paradigm, that sets me up for discouragement. So why does Jesus say his strength is made perfect in our weakness? I don't particularly like that one, or I didn't. I do now. And why did he leave Paul's thorn and say, well, my grace is sufficient? In my old life, that sounded really dismissive. Like, sorry. Because I really didn't understand what he's saying. So I thought, okay, well, do we have to be weak and full of thorns, like miserable? And then somehow just being a Christian is going to make that okay? It didn't sound good to me. By the way, I left Christianity for about 10 years because it wasn't a relationship to me. And so the Lord has had to do a lot of restoring work in me. So when we look at the way the brain works, the way God made our brains, that processing of pain only takes place in a relationship, then our goal is not to be free of pain or to be some version of perfection that we're striving for. It's not to get rid of our weaknesses. The goal is to be with in connected relationship, to be securely connected. And that means not just in our best self, but in our weakest self. To be securely connected to Jesus and to others in our weak self. So I grew up in the church, as I said, and relationship with Jesus was just a concept to me. And I suffered the absence trauma, what we call A trauma, which is the absence of the things that you're supposed to have. The B trauma I caused myself later. I managed to cause myself a lot of B trauma, but it started out with the absence. And my parents were wounded people and they didn't mean it, but there was a lot of wounding that went on. So in my church of the 40s and 50s, first of all, we weren't supposed to have any psychological problems. Nobody talked about being saved. It was all about getting saved, about getting healed. It was all about getting saved and having the right behavior. And all those fruits of the Spirit, all those wonderful words were supposed to just happen. Nobody talked about how, other than maybe, reading your Bible longer every day than you were doing, or some kind of behavior. So if someone had said to me at that time that the goal of healing is not to be rid of, but to be with, I would have looked at it this way. I would assume that that meant an endless life of pain with someone standing by watching me. And God in particular, I had him in that role, that he was just standing there watching me flounder, displeased with me, kind of waiting for me to get it together. And because I had never experienced any intimacy, any warmth, or any help from him, any more than I had from any of the people close to me, I didn't know what it meant to have him in me to help me. When I read about Paul's thorn and he says, my grace is sufficient, now I know that grace isn't a word, it's a person. His grace was sufficient because his presence was sufficient. His presence was sufficient to carry Paul through everything that he called him to do. So I'm going to give you an example of my brokenness, only to tell you about what Jesus does in my brokenness. So if I am fortunate enough to be able to screen share here with you, I'm going to show you something so that you can have you can have my picture of what it's like to have Jesus in your weakness, but then I want you to develop your own picture and your own experience of what it's like to have Jesus with you in your weakness, and then what the result is from that. So, host disabled attendee screen sharing. I don't know if my host can enable my screen sharing or not.
Okay, I think we just did. Try it again.
Okay. Yes. All right. Share. Now, when I was in 2005, I was in a mess, I was very, very distraught, feeling like I had failed. And the Lord brought me a friend who was an art therapist. And this is my idea of art. Okay. This is how well I do, but I do stick figures. But I want you to see what my wounded heart was doing. This figure here, the pink one, that's my perfectionism. Can you see it? Can you see this?
Yes, we can see it, Margaret.
Okay.
Oh, and hey, whoever's not muted, it says iPhone Sherry Lee. I'm sorry.
Right, here, here,
Can
here,
you mute
right?
yourself, please? Sherry.
The module there.
Because we can hear, we're getting some feedback. So it says iPhone Sherry. If you would mute yourself, that would be awesome.
This won't be hard for us to move, but let's think about it.
Okay.
Put the modules together and we can.
Someone's not muted. I don't know who that is. I can't see everybody. If you are not muted, please.
I don't know if the blue curtain will go in here.
Someone's talking about
okay,
blue curtains. Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, I cannot mute everybody.
Margaret, stop sharing your screen so we can maybe see if we can help mute this person.
Good job. Thank you so much.
Go to gallery.
Alt plus A to mute. Let me try that.
Okay. Well, we got to go to the person that's. Sorry, y'all.
Okay. All right. See,
Technology.
he loves us in our weakness. Okay, this is an example of our weakness, and we're not perfect, but Jesus is still right here, totally happy. So, okay, Margaret, go ahead. Sorry. Thank you for the grace, Tamara. I appreciate that. There's got to be, y'all.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and share your screen, Margaret.
Okay. This is what I was stuck in. I was stuck in this for many, many, many years, even through a lot of healing that I had done. So I was in my, close to 60, in 2005. And this is what the Lord showed me, that I had perfectionism tied to despair. I was trying to solve my heart wound by trying to get up here to some fantasy of perfection. And because that's impossible, because being perfect isn't going to heal my heart, I had despair linked right to it. And so over and over again, I would be striving to get up here. I would be afraid and just fear of failure down here. And then something would happen and I would crash down here into this brown stuff, which you can imagine what that is. So I'm only showing you that picture so that I can show you another picture. And now we're going to do, oops, I've lost my sense of how to do that.
Okay, Margaret, stop screen sharing and then share it again.
Okay, you're right. Thank you, Melinda, with the technology.
Oh, that was Kathy.
Of course it was.
I just got to the messenger and look smart, but really.
Okay. I'm sorry, this is messy, but this is my thorn, you guys. This is my thorn in the flesh. Now, what comes along with perfectionism is arrogance. I have to do it. I have to be better than everybody else. That's the pink girl. The brown girl is terrible self-doubt. Pink girl is competitive. And brown girl feels like a failure. And this was going on all the time. Competitive, arrogant, failure, self-doubt. Over and over again, I would have healing experiences where Jesus would come to the staircase. And he would literally, the first time it happened, I was completely a pile, where he took these two parts of me into his arms and loved them like they'd never been loved before. Now, I know some of you have had experiences like this, and it's the sweetest thing you've ever experienced, is when you actually have a deep inner experience of Jesus' love to parts of you that have never experienced love like that. And maybe there are people who don't have those places, but I haven't met very many who don't have those places. Now, what I want you to know about is that this can be re-triggered for me. This competitiveness. And I'm going to give you an example of a relatively current example. I had for many years up in Chicago in my Emmanuel prayer ministry, I had a very, very dear colleague named Jessie. And we worked for about 10 years. The Lord had us in partnership, and we developed a really securely attached relationship by the Lord's grace, because neither one of us had really experienced or grown up with that. And so we really developed a priceless relationship with each other by God's healing. One of the ways that came about was that we kept doing Emmanuel prayer with each other and for each other, and we began to enter deeply into the places where God was healing each of us, and that formed a bond that was unbelievable. So what happened a few years ago was that when we were still working together, was that an organization that we were both involved with asked Jessie to be on their board of directors. Well, my pink person immediately felt competitive, left out, like a failure. All of that was triggered for me. And the good news is that I knew what to do about it. So I'm going to give you my 2-action plan. My 2-action plan that will help you see what I mean by Jesus being his strength in my weakness. So the very first thing that happened was, because of all the work the Lord has done, I realized that I was back on the staircase. And that's a very, very vivid and real experience for me. I was back on the staircase. I was feeling both competition and failure. The second thing was that I knew that I had to share that with Jessie. I had to share it with her. And that we had the kind of relationship that the Lord had provided that I could do that. And that I knew that we would get through it. And so I did. As soon as I was able to, I told her what I was feeling. And she beautifully and graciously received it, and we prayed together. And so that is the community, the safe community part of the action plan. The second part is that I invited Jesus into it. And I told him all about it. I journal it. I feel competitive. I feel, why not me? I'm older than she is. I've had more experience than she is, et cetera, et cetera. You know, kind of unpack it all for Jesus, unpack the whole thing, and then invite him and acknowledge, I'm on the staircase. I hate this. I hate being on this staircase. I hate these feelings. I wanted to be completely rid of them. But I know that you will come to me. You'll come to me here on the staircase, and I can jump down into your arms. And when I do, when I shared it with Jessie, and when I let him minister to that part of me, that's when it goes away. That's when it goes away. And that's when I'm free to love and be loved. I would have lost my relationship with Jessie at that point. My heart would have shut down to her, because love cannot exist with competition and arrogance. And it doesn't exist with despair either. My heart was not free to love her and be loved by her, or to love Jesus and be loved by him. And that's when he removed that barrier. Now, does that mean I'll never experience that again? I don't know. But my guess is that I might. My guess is that I will. But this is like Paul's thorn. His grace is so real to me. His grace is so sufficient that he literally takes those feelings away and I'm free again. Now, what I want you to understand is, regardless of how intense or not intense your barriers might be, he is available, and there are people in this network who will be available to be a loving community and to be strength in your weakness. Don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged, because his presence is always available. Our brains are made so that healing takes place when someone is glad to be with us. That's how Dr. Jim Wilder expresses it. Someone is glad to be with us, but in a genuine way, like the Romans 9 way. Don't just pretend to love each other. Really love them. And as we experience our own weaknesses and we bring them to Jesus and he sets us free, and we know that that's a lifestyle, not a once and done, it's a lifestyle of dependency, we can be with each other with joy and strength. We can tolerate being in the presence of each other's pain because we know that Jesus can be present in our pain. That is when his strength becomes our strength. His strength is infinite to be with us in our pain and weakness. And he can give us that strength to be with each other. So we don't have to run from each other's pain. We don't have to run from our own. So again, I'll say, relationship is both the process and the goal of healing. It's all about restoring connection and living in connection, and then being able to get back to connection more quickly than we were ever able to get back to it before. That's my definition of a healed heart.
We're so thankful for Margaret. You know, she's become a really good friend in a very short amount of time. And I think that we may have shared how we ended up connecting with her, and I won't go into it again, but just to say, you know, those divine appointments and divine alignments when people are brought across your path and you're just like, there's something here. And that's what Margaret was.
Yeah. And she's a gold mine. I'm telling you, we have not even barely scratched the surface. She's actually teaching in the 6-week course that we're doing, and we're so excited. I mean, she's on the board of Life Model Works. We interviewed most of the Life Model connected people last year in season 1, and she has her own ministry called Alive and Well, and we're just so excited to be linking arms with her and to have her voice in this conversation. As you can tell, she's loaded with wisdom. She's in her senior years, and she has lived a lot of life, done a lot of training, and walked this road of her own healing journey and in training other healers. She's involved with the Emmanuel approach and connected with Dr. Carl Lehman as well, and has her own ministry, Alive and Well. So we're really glad we had an opportunity to share this with you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, we love hearing feedback. It's been fun to meet many of you in the Heart Healing Network that say, you know, I was introduced to your podcast and now I'm part of this. And it really is humbling and an honor to connect with you. And so thank you for those of you who listen to the podcast and join the Heart Healing Network, are part of the 6 weeks or were part of the 5-day introduction to heart healing. We're just so, like, as they would say in Britain, chuffed to meet you and to at least connect with you and put faces to names. It's so delightful. It really is. So keep reaching out. Join us in the Heart Healing Network. Let us know what you're thinking about the podcast. And we just love connecting with you. So thank you.
We're very relational people. And, you know, we like to connect. So it's awesome to meet some of you guys and have you in the network. So hope you have an awesome rest of your week, y'all. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Face to Face Ministries podcast. And to be sure not to miss any future episodes, please subscribe.
And to help us get the word out, please share this podcast with your friends. Give us a 5-star rating and leave us a brief review. More content is coming your way.
Thank you so much for listening.